If you feel ashamed for what it is that you went through, and I'm more specifically talking about if you were in a relationship with somebody who cheated on you or manipulated you, or you were in a relationship with a narcissist or somebody who gaslit you, but you consider yourself to be quite a wise person, spiritual, you're confident in yourself, you feel empowered, you feel like you know your worth, you know what you deserve, but somehow you got yourself into this situation with this person. I want to talk you through that so that you don't have to be ashamed of yourself and you can forgive yourself for attracting that kind of person. I myself went through a situation like that where I've done a lot of healing already. I had my spiritual awakening 10 years ago, and 4 years ago, I met a man who seemed so amazing yet felt so wrong, okay? And somehow I caught myself being intertwined in this relationship that I knew was bad for me. I knew the whole time intuitively that this is something's off, something is not right, but there was another part of me that was so in love and so obsessed and so attached, okay? And I went through that relationship, and it took 2 years for me to finally realize that something is really wrong here and that I need to leave. I need to leave this relationship. But it took me another maybe about 8 months till I gained the courage and the strength to actually leave. And it came from finding out that he had been cheating on me for the last 8 months. So that was really, really hard for me to go through, being betrayed to that extent and being gaslit the whole time and manipulated and lied to my face. And I do consider myself quite a wise person, spiritual, empowered. Like, before I met this person, I was living a really nice life. I thought that I had healed a lot of things already. I generally wasn't attracted to people who were narcissistic or manipulative. I mean, maybe I was more attracted to unavailable men, but not to this extent. I was married for a long time and my ex-husband was a good man. So I don't really have history of being in toxic relationships, okay? So this definitely came out of nowhere for me. And there's a lot of shame that I felt around being in this kind of a relationship, considering who I am, who I know myself to be, knowing that this is not my story, this is not my life, these are not the types of men that I attract, these are not the types of connections that I have. I have really deep, soulful connections in my life, and this relationship was also soulful, okay? But there was another element to it that was very, very toxic. So I just realized from this relationship that there was still a lot of childhood wounding that I had, a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of attachment issues, namely anxious attachment, that really got triggered in this relationship full force, that really woke me up to all of the parts of me that I have to heal. These are parts of me that I never really truly looked at to this extent because they were never triggered to this extent. So this person came into my life waking me up to all of this that I had to heal within myself. So I look at this experience as, yes, I was such a, high value woman, as I considered myself, very empowered and very spiritual, and I was very wise. I knew all of the red flags, but that there were still deep parts of me that needed healing. And so the way that I stopped having shame around this and attracting this kind of person and being stuck in a toxic relationship and getting cheated on, right? Me getting cheated on, this doesn't happen, right? The way that I dealt with the shame around that is accepting that there were deeper spiritual reasons that I needed to go through this experience, that there were layers to my healing. And if I was never triggered in this kind of a way, I would have never healed to the extent that I did. And that these wounds that I had suppressed deep within myself would have never come to the surface if I wasn't with a person who triggered those deepest parts of me. Because I realized that my ex and the things that he was doing were very similar experiences to ones that I had when I was a child with people. Okay, the gaslighting, the dismissing of my feelings, being neglected, people being unavailable, not seeing me for who I am. I mean, there were so many similarities in this relationship that brought me back to childhood. So I had to go back there and kind of unravel everything. So I don't look at this as oh, I'm so low vibrational that I attracted this kind of relationship. It's kind of my soul needed these lessons. My soul needed these experiences so that I can evolve. And also, maybe I was low vibrational, okay? Maybe maybe I was, and that's okay to accept that I wasn't my strongest self, okay? It's okay to accept that I wasn't being my highest self, that I am human. Another way that I work through this shame is to accept that I am a flawed, broken human, okay? But I'm also perfect and whole at the same time. It's a paradox. And we're all here on this journey on earth trying to figure it out, okay? We're all souls in a body, and we're all limited, and we don't know what the fuck is going on. So we just are going through life the best way that we can, figuring it out as we go. And that's just what I'm doing. So yes, if you consider yourself to be a really wise, smart, emotionally mature, you know better person, but somehow you found yourself in some sort of a toxic relationship, or you keep finding yourself in toxic relationships, okay, maybe you continue to attract these types of people, but you know that you know better, you know you're so spiritual, and you know that you're so connected to your soul, you know that you know the wisdom, and that you've learned a lot of these lessons, and that you are worthy of more than what you're getting, but somehow you're still finding yourself in these situations. Stop having shame around that and stop beating yourself up for it, and just realize that there is an inner child inside of you that is screaming to be heard, okay? This inner child is screaming to be healed, to be listened to be chosen, to be loved, to be nurtured. And I think that is what is coming up. And you're going to continue to attract these same types of relationships, ending up in the same situation, until you keep ignoring this inner part of you that needs attention. And so that is what I started to do, is I started to talk to my inner child and see what it is that she needs, what is it that she wants, what is she longing for. And really, she was just longing to be chosen by me. She was longing for my own attention, you know, the attention that I didn't get as a child from my caregivers or from the people that were supposed to give me attention, not because they were bad people, but because it just is what it is. People aren't always there. They're working, you know, they have their own issues that they're going through, whatever. And that little child, you know, felt abandoned and neglected and invisible and not good enough. All of those parts of me are parts of me that I had to heal through providing that level of nurturance for myself. That is what I started to do. I started to reparent myself. I started to talk to my inner child as if I was the parent that she always needed. I started to validate her. I started to choose her in every moment of life. I started to stand up for my truth. I started to speak my needs even when it was really uncomfortable. I started to say no. I started to have stronger boundaries. I started to really reflect on all of the personality traits that I have developed that were actually a byproduct of this trauma that I've gone through. So I started to unravel who it is that I am truly underneath all of that, or who it is that I want to become in this world. And this is my journey of healing and transformation. So please don't beat yourself up about what kind of relationships that you were in, given who you are as a person. I am sure that you're very lovely and very wise, and you're absolutely worthy of the best relationships in life. But you have to know that, okay? You have to know that about yourself. And just because you are such a great woman and such a great person doesn't mean that you don't struggle with self-worth, okay? For me, that was my core lesson. My core wound is self-worth. And so if this is resonating with you, then I would bet that that's also your core wound, and that's something that you have to work through. So on this channel, I share a lot about my journey of how I'm healing and how I'm building self-worth, going from anxious attachment to secure attachment. So if you would like to follow me for more videos, I would love that. I also share videos on manifestation, spirituality, numerology, all the things that I love and I'm interested in. So I would love to have you here. I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a nice day. Bye.